we want to connect with. And so it's important that we think about this, and we are taking care of ourselves, so we are able to support those we are working with while also being able to enjoy our lives. All right. I grew up poor now and feel uncomfortable being well off. They weren't there by choice. I'm more empathic towards those families and demonstrate mindfulness. Used to look down. And thank you for acknowledging that, because I think sometimes it can be hard to acknowledge for those of us if we haven't grown up in poverty, and it can be hard to acknowledge that maybe because I didn't understand it. See here that with single female-headed households, 42% of those children are poor, and 69% of them are not that far off. We also know that as we think about poverty, and this is where it becomes so important as we start to think about that lasting impact it could have, recognizing that of the kiddos who are poor, the large majority of them are barely even entering the school system. The large majority of those kids who are growing up in poverty are under the age of 6. So as we start to think about, how does that start to impact, their learning, their ability to connect, all of those different things. We could also start to see here the impact that college has and education. And because she left the domestic violence relationship and her just being here, it wasn't that she had all of this money saved and, this well-paying job, etc. So she and her boys experienced housing instability. They were couch surfing, they were going to shelters, they were pretty much going anywhere she could for them to sleep with a roof over their head, so they weren't having to sleep on the street. And she shared one experience she had when she went to one of the Sun schools, and she asked somebody who was there working in the reception if she could have another one of the forms of like the change of address forms, because she needed to change it. And she experienced so much shame and judgment from this woman who was working behind the counter. She just gave her such attitude as to like, you have to complete another form. Like, I don't understand why you keep moving. Like, this isn't good for your boys. And, and kind of went on. You can't even apply because they are so backlogged with some of this stuff. Or if you are able to apply, you get on a waiting list. Some of those waiting lists are even years long. Which again is just kind of becomes its own challenges there in of itself. Anyone who has struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. And somebody mentioned this earlier as we think about how many times somebody is having to take out really high interest loans, even things like check cashing, or different things like that. Like, it is expensive to be poor. And unfortunately, there are folks out there who really target this population and who are paying the most. You could see here, financially underserved